Right, well, I'm about to conduct a telephone conversation with Joy Thacker, and in a moment, I'm going to ask Joy a question about her father and the coal haulage business in Rodborough and around. So now I'm going to, can you hear me, Joy?
Yes.
And now I'm going to move the phone away from my ear and place it close to the recording device. So over to you, Joy.
Thank you. Yes, I'm Joy. My father was Mr. Furley, Edward Furley. He and my Uncle Francis were the sons of Alfred Furley, who started the coal haulage business up at Little London. Now, it began because it was in the slump, it was in the 30s, and my grandfather didn't have a job. What he actually did was to get some money, was to go round to the Manor Woods, where he was able to cut down big trees. No, he didn't cut down the big trees. The trees were already cut down by somebody else. The bowls were left, and he was allowed then to have the wood and to sell it on. It was a bit sad, actually, because sometimes he would make all the effort of digging all this bowl out, and then somebody would go and take the wood before he could take it away. Anyway, he made a bit of a success of that, and he managed to buy himself a small pony and trap in order to carry on and move on a bit. Then he got a job hauling for the co-op, and he also had his own customers, and it grew from that, where he was half his customers were for the Cooperative Society and the others were for himself. Dad, Edward Furley, and Uncle Francis, of course, they went into the business very early on. In those days, it was done with the big heavy horses, and Dad can remember going upon the common early in the morning, because we have the rights to the common, because we have a piece of land there, to fetch these horses in, give them a good feed, then he would have his breakfast, and then they would do a day's work, and then they would be turned out at the end of the day. When I was a little girl, there was just one heavy horse left called Blossom, and she was sold on while I was a little girl. I actually thought she'd gone to the knackers, but she was a young horse, and she'd gone to work properly, because she needed some work, actually. When Grandfather died, I can actually remember Grandfather taking out the horse with a two-wheeled trap, a wagon, to do small deliveries when he was in his 70s. He used to like doing that. But then, at that same time, we had 2 lorries, and we employed a couple of people. One of the men who was employed I called him Uncle Ted, and he called me Missy. He wasn't related in any way at all, but he always was Dad's mate, and he worked with him, all his working life, really. He used to come up at Christmas, and they used to have a glass of port to celebrate Christmas. I think he lived over at Thrupp. Yes, they were lovely days, because we had a bit of a small holding at the same time. And so we had a cow, which Dad would milk in the morning. He used to make cream cheese and stuff like that from it. It was a miserable old devil, actually, because it used to kick the bucket over, and then the milk would be lost. And it used to chase us down the field if we happened to be out there with its head down, like a bull, really. And we had chickens and cockerel, and I remember Uncle Fran and Dad used to fatten up the cockerel at Christmas time, and then it was a real treat, this big fat bird to come to the table on Christmas Day. We also had pigs, and I can remember the little piglets coming, but I think they were taken away to be slaughtered. I think half the pig went to the government and the other half stayed with us. But I can remember the lovely tasty bacon that we had. It had the rind of it, though, was a bit prickly. It had to be singed off. When I was older, when I was about 10, I was lucky enough to have a pony, because the Blossom had gone by then, and it stayed in the field with my cousin's pony, and we used to have lovely time there in the holidays and all through the year, really. Yes, they were lovely days, and Dad was renowned. He used to know so many people in the area. Where he used to go, he used to know where all their coal houses were, by the way, and where we are living now, up at Whiteway, he actually delivered to the lady who lived in this very house and who was into her 80s now and on her own, and wanted to actually move on to be looked after. And so a lot has come from that business. I know that all the coal men in the area, they were great mates. if they were short of coal, which was ordered, then the other person didn't have it, then they would help each other out in that way. And I know also that when customers rang up and asked for coal, sometimes they would give excuses like, "Oh, my sister's not very well," or something like that to get their coal quicker. Dad would never put anybody in front of anybody else. They all had to take their turn. And the other thing with our business was that we didn't deliver small amounts. They were all large amounts, maybe for a year. And in the summertime, there were summer prices, and there was a bit of lull then, when people were waiting for the prices to go down so they could have their big amount of coal delivered in one big fair swoop. And in those days, Uncle Ted and Uncle Fran and Dad used to mend their baskets, because in those days they used to use baskets, not bags. They really worked hard, those men, because the train would come up into the Wallbridge on the little line there. They would unload that coal into their little places, the different areas where they put their coal. Then they would have to load that coal back up onto the lorry again, take it to the weighbridge. I can't remember the name of it, just along the way there. And then they would have to actually put it back in the baskets again and carry it up really long paths. Yes, the people in those days who carried coal, and probably do today, carrying coal is not very nice, especially when it's really, really wet. Dad used to be soaked to the skin, but they would still carry on, and I'm sure the chaps do today. So there we are. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Joy. Brilliant, thank you. Yeah? No, thank you. So I'll send you...